Hello again, everyone. This is Zombie Kids Rule, and I'm back with. I'm going to try to start making some tutorials how I made Krampus Games, which I posted a couple videos earlier. One is a full playthrough, which highlights pretty much all the flexibility options, covers most of the concepts. In Krampus Games, which is my very first game that I ever quote-unquote finished. It's not really finished, but it was deployed and submitted for the Slay the Competition Game Jam 2023. And so I posted that whole video. So if you haven't watched that, you probably should, just for context. And then I posted a much shorter video that just highlighted the skip features and profile to plugin and things like that. So what I want to do now is I want to start making some tutorials of different aspects of making this game in the hope that it helps new folks in learning to do something that they're curious about or they haven't seen before, or something that they might want to use themselves. So I'll throw my caveats out here. It's been a long time, so I'll just try to remember them. I say it in most of my videos. I hope, I'm not an expert. I'm still learning. I've only been using RPG Maker MZ for a couple years now, on and off, and so I'm still new. I'm still learning. I learned a lot in making this game, Krampus Games. That was my intent. Try new things, try different things, learn things. So I don't claim to be an expert. What I show is just what seems to work. And there may be better ways to do it. There may be more efficient ways to do it. There may be plugins that make things work better or easier. I haven't explored plugins very much. So obviously take everything with a grain of salt. Just this is a way that works, and I want to share it in case it helps people. And you know what? I can't remember any of my other caveats. So anyway, I am doing this because I hope it helps somebody. So all right, so Krampus Games. This first video, I'm going to try to keep these videos a little shorter. Although I tend to drone on. This first video, I want to show some things in the database that I changed. Just show quickly the 4 plugins that I used, and then show the beginning. In case people don't know, how do you change your title screen? How do you change the title music that plays? Scrolling text is right off in the beginning. A testing feature that's relatively new to MZ, which makes testing so much easier. So I'll highlight that. And something else. Move picture. I'll probably highlight move picture. So I'm going to highlight all these things that are in the beginning of the game, and then move on to the next video. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I actually just wanted to show this. So anyway, to jump right in. Okay. So first, database changes. In case you didn't, so first of all, let me just start with actors. One of the things I did was I made 4 actors for this game: Child, Krampus, Santa, and Immortal Child. Why? Well, I'll show it in another video. I'm going to use these actors in show choice commands. And so I'm going to pull the actor names for show choices, and I'm going to use it by basically party members. Whoever's in your party will show up as a show choice, and by removing certain people from the party, then they won't be available for show choices. So that's why I set them up this way. And the child, I set this up because this is going to be your character that you play, and this allows you to do name input processing to change your character, right? So first thing I did was I actually created the child first, and then later on, when I wanted to do the show choices based on who's in your party, I added Krampus, Santa, and Immortal Child. And none of this other stuff matters, quite honestly. I set a class of Child, so I deleted everything. It doesn't matter. If you watch the video of the game, you know that there's no combat in it, and therefore none of this other stuff matters. So 4 actors, class, doesn't really matter. I deleted all the skills, deleted all the items, deleted all the weapons, deleted all the armors, deleted all the enemies, deleted all the troops, deleted all the states. Why? Deleted all the animations? Because I'm not using them. in the game. I didn't delete them until I was done, but I'm not using any of those things. So let's see. There are a handful of common events that are being used. I'll highlight those later. Now the System tab. System 1. Now this is where if you've never experimented with it, like I had never experimented with it before because I never really worked on a game per se to deploy, this is where you change your title screen image. So it says System 1, title screen, images, and you just do your pull down and you can choose from your available options. Like these are all default, right? So all I had to do, there was an original one, not original, sorry, that was AI generated, which is I had to remove it because AI images were not allowed in the game. So this is the image that I picked, and all I had to do was add it to the appropriate folder, right, in my files folder. And once I did that, it was selectable. Okay, so very easy to do. Open up if you navigate to your save game of projects, your save projects, I should say. You'll find a bunch of folders. And so I just poked around, found the one that has all the title screens in it, and then looked at their I guess pixel size, and then just added a photo. So that was very easy. So add the photo you want, and then you can select it from here. And this over here where it says music, this is where you change your music. So double click, here's all the default music that's available. And also all you have to do is if you find music from someplace else, it has to be a .ogg file. I use a converter website, and so I just took a music file, converted it to .ogg, again found the appropriate folder in my projects, put it in there, and then it becomes available to select. So very simple. Title screen, change the image, find the image you want, put it in the right folder, make sure it's the right size, and you can now select it. And then same thing with the music over here. Find the music you want, make sure it's an .ogg file, put it in the right folder in your project, and then you can select it. I also had the player start in transparent because, again, if you watch the video of Krampus Games, there is no traditional RPG Maker map. There's no sprites, right? It's all picture-based. So it's all like black screen. And that's pretty much it here. So as you can see, this is the only map. So Krampus Games has one map. It is a black background. That's it. It's just black. So if I go over here, I just use the black space, and that's all it is. And everything runs from this one map. Okay? All right, so that was the sort of database changes. The plugins that I was using, again, here's your little plugin option. I use the button picture, which I have highlighted in previous tutorials. The text picture, which I have highlighted in previous tutorials. This is a new plugin I tried out by Kaethril. I highlighted this plugin in the full playthrough of Krampus Games, and this just allows you to better control the audio. So you can change it, you can set the percentage that it goes up and down by. And then this is that new plugin that was just recently made, and I highlighted this in the shorter video of Krampus Games by my ATT _ Tehran, and it's a keyboard entry. It allows you to use the keyboard during name input processing and number input rather than just using your mouse and clicking on things. So those are the four things, and I've shown how to do plugins before, but if you just double click and you can click here under name, it shows you your choices. I deleted a bunch of plugins that were not needed, so they're not there anymore. But this is where you can add a plugin, you can turn it on and off. All right, so those are the plugins. Let's see. First event over here. You notice there's no event 001. That's because I had to delete it when I converted from having the text auto advance to having you click on the text boxes to advance them. And so there was an event that was basically running in parallel and didn't need that anymore, so it got deleted. And you notice these don't automatically renumber when you delete an event. So going here to the beginning part, I try to label my things that make some sort of sense, and then sometimes the labels get off. But you notice that none of these events have an image because I don't want anybody to see them. First thing I do is I set the movement route of player to repeat, because this makes it where even though there's a sprite on the screen and it's invisible, it's transparent, the player can't see it, in theory they can move around. They could move around if they touched certain keys. This paralyzes, or I should say stops the player from moving, because you set this to player, right? So you set this to player. There's no actual commands. I've highlighted this in previous tutorials. Repeat movements, and basically it just makes it so the player can't move anymore. Obviously other things can happen, but the player can't move. So I do that first thing, and then never turn it on. Never turn it off. Actually, so throughout the rest of the game, the player is basically frozen. Here is the show picture and move picture. Now, I do have some tutorials that dealt with moving picture. This is a little bit different, and the functionality. This is the new testing feature, which is really cool. If you just highlight certain commands in an event, you can right-click. You can test, and it will just test that. It'll just test those lines. And so all this is doing a fade-in effect. So it's a fade-in effect, and you can set it for, basically there's one limitation on this. So you do the show picture. So here's the first test, right? You highlight what you want and test. It's just going to show me the picture. Well, actually, no. It's not going to show me anything because the picture is set to 0 opacity. So it's basically invisible. Because I want it to start from basically not being visible and then slowly fade in. So, I have my picture number, I have my image, right? And then I have it set to X and Y of 0. So it's basically the picture is full screen. So it's 100%. Opacity of 0, so you actually can't see it. This, the move picture, it allows you to pick your picture. You can change the speed at which it moves, whether you're moving it across the screen or whether you're just fading it in, meaning that I'm going to take picture 1 as a constant speed in the same location, and I'm gonna make it opacity 255. That's the full opacity. No, it's fully there like it normally would be. And I'm going to set the duration. So I'm going to 360 is I don't know. I'd have to do math. It's 4 times 6 is 36. So it's 4 seconds, right? So every frame is 1/60th of a second. So it's going to take 4 seconds to fade from 0 to 255. I could wait for completion, but then that means nothing else moves on until that's over. So that's the fade-in effect. If I wanted to, I could obviously change this to something higher. That was 360. Let's just say the highest it can go is 999. Okay, and if I just go here and test, it's going to very slowly fade in. Okay, up to 999 seconds, and the game can progress because there's no wait there. All right, so that's a fade-in effect. I'm going to put that back to, I'm going to put that back to 360. Okay, so that's a fade-in effect. The other thing about testing you can do is if you highlight certain areas, you can skip. So you toggle skip, meaning that if you do a play test, it's going to skip this. It's just going to skip right over this when you run a play test. which could be useful. I don't use this very much because what I do is, I'm going to toggle that back off. What I do is when I want to test something, like let's just say I randomly want to see what this is going to look like, I highlight it, right click, select test, and it's just going to show that one command. It's just going to run it, and it's going to let me see what it looks like, and then it's done. So that's an awesome way of testing. All right, so there's the move picture functionality. The rest of this is, using comments. I started using a lot more comments, which I should be doing to help me find things in longer events. These are just show text commands with changes of font color. Right now, I will just show the way it looked originally. I'm going to go here, and if you hover over here on the text, it gives you all these little hints of things you can do. And the way I first built this was I made it auto advance, which down towards the bottom, you can see that there's an option for wait a quarter of a second, or wait a full second, or wait for button input. And what I did was I used the wait command. So I would go here and I would go, that's 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, right? So there's 4 seconds there. And then this little tilde, or whatever that thing is, that is what makes it advance by itself. So if you look towards the bottom, the very bottom, do not wait for input after displaying text. That means the text will just advance. That's the way I originally built this game. And one of the complaints was it went too slowly. People didn't like that. And it did cause a lot of work because you have to time it, thinking about how long is it going to take the average person to read this, because the text will go away. So I'll just show this. We'll do these two, and I'll test it, and you'll see that the text is going to appear, and then I'm not going to click anything. It's just going to go away by itself after 4 seconds. There we go. And now this one is requiring a click. So one of the things I learned, again, this is very easy to do. You just get rid of these, okay? And we're back to where we were. So one of the things I learned was, of course, is that it takes a lot of time to try to figure out the timing of how long text should be available for people to read. And even then, you probably won't accommodate everybody. Some people will read much faster. Some people might not be able to read everything. And the consistent feedback was people didn't really like that. Even though I thought it kind of let a better atmosphere of like it playing out, so you didn't have to click on things. But again, different user experiences, right? And so, of course, show choices. I've shown that in previous tutorials. You can use all of those text options in here, right? So you can change the color of the text, right? So you can change the color of the text that you want to show, and of course change your options, whether it be transparent, windowed, or dim, where it shows up on the screen, whether the options are left, right, or middle, and then what's your default, whether you allow them to cancel, etc. So that was pretty simple, and then it adds the when. What do I do when this happens? So when they choose this version, we're going to set a switch. Why? Because that switch is how we're going to know whether or not they can skip things. When they pick the full version, skip and choice disabled, it doesn't do anything because it just drops down and goes to the next step. And when they pick Game Jam version, then I turn another switch on, Game Jam version on. Because why? I'm using switches later in the events to say, hey, if this switch is on, then either skip this or offer this, right? Present this sort of thing. All right. And then, so as an example from what you saw, from if you watched the earlier video, first thing that happens after this show choices is a conditional statement or branch. If skip and choice, which is a switch, is on, right? So skip and choice is being turned on. If that's on, then it's going to show text, and it's going to say, hey, scrolling introduction from the developer, show choices, watch, read, or skip. If watch, read doesn't do anything because it's going to drop down and keep going. If skip, then it's going to jump to a label that's farther down in this event. It's going to skip over the next part. All right, and it's going to jump to the part that is Christmas warning. Okay, so that's what these switches are going to be used for. If you pick a certain choice, then a switch skip and choice is turned on, which allows you to check, hey, if this is on, then do something, right? Do something different. Game Jam version is the same way. And then this is just a scrolling intro. And if you've never done scrolling intros before, basically it is a command choice, right? And all you have to do is type everything you want to appear as you want it to appear. So you can use, you can change any of these text options, right? You can incorporate into this. And you type out everything that you want to appear, and then it will just scroll. You can set a speed, right? So you can make it go really, really fast, right? Super fast. 1 is the slowest. My issue with this is 1 is too slow, 2 is a little too fast. It's too bad that there's not like a middle ground. You can, by default, this is not checked. No fast forward. So by default, they can click and make it go faster. If you click this, then, if you put a check mark here, then they won't be able to scroll, right? No fast forward. Disables the fast scrolling feature when the OK button is pressed. You could preview this, right? So put whatever you want to in here, set your speed, decide whether or not you want them to scroll or not. And where it is let's see, where was that? Here we go. So on Event Commands, tab 1, scrolling text. And there's your template, right? And again, you can just test this, and it will show you what the scroll text is going to look like. And if I left click, or if I press the enter button, right, it's going to go faster. So this is pretty slow, right? That's pretty slow. But if I change this to a speed of 2, then it might actually go a little too fast depending on all the reading that's required. I can still scroll faster even, right? But then again, you're dealing with that, how fast do people read things, okay? So so that's scrolling text. Pretty simple, right? Pretty simple. I'm going to put that back to 1. And another feedback that was given, a lot of people don't like scrolling text. Again, I made this to experiment. I made this to learn new things. Never experimented with scrolling text before. So a lot of people gave feedback and said, I don't like scrolling text because, again, I have to sit there, right? I just want to get into the game. And, of course, play background music. That's simple enough, right? You Event tab 2. Right, and then audio, video, play background music, and you just pick something, right? You stick whatever new music you want into the appropriate folder. You can test it by playing. You can set the volume, the pitch, the pan, and stuff like that. Okay, you can fade out, so I use that as well, and all these other sound effects. Okay, so there's the scrolling text. You can see here that I fade out the background music afterwards, and then get into the next area, which is where you can, again, see that option. If skip and choice is on, if that switch is on, then present to the player the option to either watch and read the next part or skip it, right? And if it's watch and read, it doesn't do anything because it's just going to drop down. If it's skip, it's going to jump to that label, right? So you notice here the label, Christmas morning, that's what we skipped to from the previous choice, right? So you're jumping to a particular label in the event. Just be very cautious. I made the mistake, not intending to, but I made the mistake of making 2 labels named the same thing in the same event page. That you can't do that, right? Because the event needs to know which label to jump to. So when something didn't work right and I was trying to figure out why, I was like, oh, wait a second. I'm way down in the event telling it to jump to a particular label, thinking it's going, say, halfway back, when in fact it's going all the way back because I reused a label. So you got to be careful about that. Here is where we just do that fade in again. I'm sorry, move picture. This is fading out. So in order to fade out that picture that was on the screen, we just go in reverse. You have to identify the number, how fast you want it to go, the location, and then put it back to an opacity of 0. And set your duration, so this goes much faster. And in this instance, I want for it to wait. I don't want the event to keep going. I want to wait for that picture to fade away. Right? So fade in a picture, you show the picture, use move picture, and basically you show the picture at 0 opacity and then bump it up to 255 and set how long it's going to take. When you want to get rid of it, you can fade it out the exact opposite way. So you bring it back down to 0. All right, and then I'm just erasing the picture because the picture's still there technically, and I want to get rid of it, so I'm erasing that picture. Let's see, and I think that's pretty much all I want to highlight at the beginning here. Except for one more thing, because this is also move picture related. And so in the next step, start a background. So start a new background music, and then fade in a new picture. So this picture is going to fade in, okay? And then it's going to display some text, right? And then what's going to happen is these pictures are going to come onto the screen. So when I go here and I just test this, so again, with move picture, you can do all kinds of interesting things. There's one later on where I do like a spinning effect, right? That's all default built in. This one just has the pictures start off small and then expand as they come in, right? So the way to do that is very simple. You do show picture. You give it a number. So remember, one of the things to remember is that the lower the number, the higher the priority. So if I set picture 1, wait a second, I'm sorry, I think I said that wrong. So let me give you an example. This is the background picture, right? Picture 1 is the background picture. Picture 2, 3, and 4 are going to be on top of picture 1. So when I do this, right, it's going to fade in the picture, then it shows text, and then when I click this, because picture 2, 3, and 4 are higher in number, they show up on top of this picture. Okay? And if I were to change picture 1 to be, for instance, picture 5, then when 2, 3, and 4 showed up, they wouldn't even appear on the screen because they would be underneath picture 5. So that's another thing to be aware of, is the numbering of your pictures. And then so again, making it go from small to large, you just identify your picture, right? The number and the image, and then figure out where you want it to start, right? The X and Y designator of where you want it to start on the screen. And then this one, I made a width and scale of 10%. So really, really small. It's a really, really small picture. And the opacity is only 25, so it starts off dim, right? And then with the move picture, again, same picture number, constant speed, we're same starting point, or I should say same ending point. So it's going to end the same place it started, but it's going to increase in size up to 100%, and it's going to increase in opacity. And it's only, and I sped this up. So originally I had it set slower, so the pictures moved in slower, right? So let's just change this. Let's change this to 120, and I'm not waiting for completion. So this one now is going to take much, much longer than these two. So if I go here and test this again, see, this one is taking a long time, and these ones came fast, right? And if I just do this and show the show picture, you'll see, you can hardly see it because of the opacity, right? It's right there. It's very, very tiny. So let's do this. Let's change this back to 45 for consistency. Again, feedback. It played too slow, so I sped things up. Let's change this to an opacity of 255. I'm going to remember it was 25, right? I can remember that this is 25, right? So 25, 25, I'll remember that. So now I'm going to test that. And see, now you can see the picture. So it starts off super tiny, and then the move picture is going to make it get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, but the corner where it's anchored doesn't change. It stays in the same spot. It just gets bigger. Okay? So one more time, I'm going to change this back to where it was before I forget. Okay? And that's how you can, so you can do all kinds of things with that. You can experiment with not just moving pictures from side to side or up or down or whatever. You can make them get bigger as they approach, if you will. Okay? Through the move picture. And you can time it that way. And that's all this entire section is. It's making pictures appear, getting bigger on the screen, and then showing some text as you go. All right, and then of course you have to erase the pictures, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm doing show me picture 2, 3, and 4, show me text, and then move those pictures back to where they were, right? So move them back to 10% and opacity of 0. So it looks like they're disappearing. And then I'm going to erase them as they do it, right? So this is going to wait, erase, erase, erase. And then I can reuse the same picture numbers. So picture 2, picture 3, picture 4. Move them back, erase them, right? So the full thing looks like this. Show the pictures, show the text, and then get rid of the pictures. Okay, and then you can reuse them again. And you may have to play around with the weight or what have you. And that's that whole section there is just showing pictures, moving pictures, basically fading them and getting them bigger, and then fading them and getting them smaller, and then erasing them. And that's that pretty much whole section. And then the next part, so wrapping this up, the next part is that thing again. If the skip and choice is on, if that switch is on, give the player a choice of whether they want to skip it or actually do it. If they want to skip it, then jump to the label that's appropriate, right? It's going to jump all the way to the bottom of this event. It's going to skip all this next part. If they want to watch it and read it, nothing's happening because it's just dropping down. Starts a new background music, and then this is a little different. This is showing a new background, right? So showing the picture at 0, 0, at 0 opacity, and then moving that picture to full opacity, right? So it's or I should say full picture, full color, whatever you want to call it. And then this thing here is just this makes it so. Again, I'll profile what this does. We'll go here and we'll scroll down to the next here where it's the next comment. So this is the first dialogue line. So it shows the background. It's actually playing the music in the background, and then the letters basically fade in and fade out. So fade in the letters, fade out the letters. And I did speed this up. And essentially the way to get this effect is super easy. It's just, it takes quite a bit of work. You have to, this is where I'm using that plugin, Text Picture. And I'm setting the text to the letter H. And I'm setting the color to red. So I'm using this plugin to make it so I can show the letter H on the screen, and that plugin requires you to show a picture, right? So picture 2 with no image, because that's what the plugin requires. I figure out where I want it to appear on the screen. I figure out the size it needs to be. I figure out it starts at an opacity of 0, right? Because I want it to fade in. And then I move that picture and I bring it to full opacity, and you just have to set the time frame. You just have to play around. So if I go here, if I just do this, it's going to show the letter H. It's going to fade in the letter H, and that's it. It doesn't fade it out because that happens later. Okay? And so you just have to play around with how long you want it to take. I did this so many times. This is what took a lot of work, because I was trying to time it where it would look the way I liked it, right? And so I changed the frames. I had to go through and change all the frames, the weight commands, right, to get it to look the way I wanted to. And so you're waiting 8 frames, just a very fraction of a second before you start showing the E. Same thing. Show picture 3 is the E. 0. Move that picture 3 to the spot you want it, and same spot, and then the 255, and it spells out, right, Krampus. Okay. I'm sorry. No, it spells out here. Here comes Krampus. So this is all those letters, and you just have to test the spacing. So when I was making this, what I did was I sampled this. First thing I did was I didn't do any movement. I just had a picture here, and that way I sampled it to say, is it on the screen where I want it to be, right? Does it show where I want it to be? And then I did the second one, right? And I said, okay, are the letters spaced out the way I want them to be? Are they too close? Are they too far away, right? And then I did the third one. And once I had the spacing right, then I added in the fade out, right, and the erasing them. It was a lot of trial and error is what it was. So again, basic simple things, text plugin, the plugin text picture to show the letters on the screen, the fade them in, right? And then once I get down to about picture 10, right, then I got to start fading those letters out because they have to start disappearing. So again, this just took a trial and error, sampling. When do I want the letters to start fading out? And what's the appropriate time frame to fade them out, right? So notice here, they were fading in. They were taking 120 seconds with no wait. But yet, fading out, I'm sorry, not 120 seconds, 120 frames, which is 2 seconds. And then fading out, it's only taking 90 frames, which is 1.5 seconds. And so from right around picture 10, I start adding, okay, we're going to start fading out that first letter. And then we're going to show picture 11, we're going to show the K, and then we're going to start fading out the second letter of here. So this is the E. Then we're going to show picture 12, the R, and we're going to start fading out the previous letter, right? So the HER. So this is the R. And so you just have to do that. And then once you fade all those out, right? So I'm moving them. Now you'll notice I don't erase those pictures, right? I'm not actually erasing those pictures. I move them all, right? But I don't technically have to erase them because I'm going to reuse the pictures. So I'm going to reuse the picture numbers. And these are gone anyway, right? So if I put a picture on top of a picture, it's going to show the most recent picture, right? So, or the highest picture, or the replacement picture. So I don't actually erase these pictures. I'm going to erase them all at the end. So I don't erase these pictures. Instead, I get to the part where I stopped showing new letters, and then after that I just faded out the rest of the letters, right? And then we start the next line. So, and I'm reusing the same picture numbers, okay? And it's the same thing. It's just a lot of trial and error with the weights. How long should I wait? How long should the wait be in between? Does it appear the way I want it to appear when it's fading in? How fast does it fade in versus how fast does it fade out? And this is all of that that text. Here comes Krampus, looming over your bed. Everyone knows you deserve what's coming, so there's no use in hiding your head, right? And then so I can see the comment, so I know where I am. Krampus knows that you've been naughty, right? And etc., etc. So this is all. That's all this is. This whole section is about displaying those words on the screen. And once we get to the end, right? So here we go. Once we get to the end of that, then here's that label that we jump to if we wanted to skip this. And then this is the script that I've highlighted in previous tutorials. This is the script that allows you to get rid of all pictures on the screen at once. So you don't have to erase picture 2, erase picture 3, erase picture 4. You can just clear all pictures. So this is the script, $ game capital screen dot clear capital pictures with 2 parentheses, right? Parentheses? Yes, parentheses. And you just do that through the event commands, tab 3, script, right? And you just put your script in there. This is very, very helpful because you can erase all the pictures. Then this is going to control self switch A on because you notice that this is an auto run, right? So this event, as soon as the map loads, this event starts running. All of this starts running because it's auto run. And then turning on self switch A is going to move it to this page, page 2, where the highest condition is met, self switch A is on, right? And then it starts doing this because this is also auto run. It just starts running, okay? All right, so that's pretty much everything I want to show in this first kind of compilation. So we went through the database changes. Highlighted the plugins I'm using, explained a few things there, and then talked about the freezing the player, talked about how to fade in a picture and how to fade out a picture. I showed the auto advance of text, right? How you can do that, and I played around with that originally, and then changed it. Explained why I'm setting certain switches because they're going to be used in conditional branches later on to do certain things. Showed that conditional branch. If this switch is on, then do this. If it's not, then just ignore this, and it's going to go check the next part of the event. And if you are skipping things, you're going to jump to label, right? Just make sure you don't label just make sure you don't make labels that are the same in the same event page because that's going to cause problems. Then went over scrolling text, right? If you've never used scrolling text before, not really hard. Went over the features of that. You might want to think judiciously about using that in your game. Again, some people didn't like it. And that was and then of course, in addition to the move picture, showed how you can not just fade in a picture, how you can make it go from small to bigger, right? And do different things that way. Later on, if you watch the Krampus playthrough, when it shows the naughty and nice certificate, instead of starting from, for instance, a spot here and then getting bigger and bigger and bigger, what it does is it starts in the background and then it comes forward, right? It comes forward on the screen, making it so it looks like the certificate is being moved forward instead of just, the way these other ones were doing. So anyway, there's a lot of different things you can do with that. And that's pretty much everything that was going on there. So anyway, that's the beginning. I hope this is helpful. I hope that some of those things were new to some of you. If not, and you still bore through and watched it all, then thank you. If it was helpful, or I should say, if something was new to you and it helps you, that's awesome. That's why I'm doing this. So anyway, if you have any comments, you're welcome to leave them. I like getting comments. I do try to respond to all of them. If these types of videos are helpful to you, or if you appreciate the time and effort that goes into doing it, please consider liking, subscribing, getting notifications, and leaving comments, right? If you have suggestions or if you have questions or anything, feel free to leave a comment. All right, that's the first part. I will get this posted, and then I'll come back and again try to highlight the next the next concepts or the next features that were built into this. All right. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day. I'm almost done with my vacation, so I'm going to have less time coming up here. I'm almost at the very tail end. But anyway, I hope you guys are having a great holiday season. I hope you're having a great day. And, in the meantime, until I'm back, happy gaming, happy game developing, and I will talk to everybody later. Bye.